All right, it is 6:02, time to call this meeting of the Finance Committee to order. I understand that we have a few appropriations and some discussions that need to be made. Mr. Sappington, the floor is yours.
All right. Thank you guys. I don't know if you need that written.
It's always nice to have it written.
Always.
Thank you.
Right. City manager. Okay, I know you guys have some other discussions to get to, so I think I can make this pretty painful too. The first bullet point is just appropriation for the fire department for fire recovery money received.
That's why they bill insurance companies.
They bill homeowners or car insurance for runs. They pay for the cost of the run, and then you guys have to appropriate it so that it can be spent.
Okay.
The amount so far is $2,560.
Does anybody have any issues with that? Is it okay to go ahead and we'll just do this individually?
No,
We good? We good?
we're good.
Good? Okay, no problem with that one.
Okay, and just in case anybody wonders, it's line item 100, 200, 400, or 40,010. The next one is similar. Police department, it's already on your agenda. Police department has a $3,000 grant. I wish Chief was here. I forget what the grant's for.
I think it's body armor.
Training.
Is it body armor?
The training.
I think the last one was body armor.
Devin told me that was for training.
For training, that's right.
Some reimbursement.
Yep. I think they might have already done the training. The state's reimbursing the cost. So to pay that out, $3,000 for that grant would be 100, 100, 400, I think 10. Any thoughts or questions?
No.
You kind of,
I'm so sorry.
400 what?
I'm so sorry. It's the last five numbers are actually 21300.
21300.
That was awful.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone have a problem with that appropriation coming forward? All right, no problem here.
No.
All righty. Appropriations for the fire department uniform line items. The contract passed by council increased the uniform allowance from 600 to 800 for full-time, 300 to 500 for part-time. Those line items are separated in the budget by employee or by position, we should say. So naturally, to spend that money, those line items have to be increased appropriately. So it's a change. It's going to be, well, it's actually going to be a lot of line items because we have a number of part-timers. It's going to be about a dozen of them, and they'll each go up by $200.
$2,400 more at least per time. And that's what, 3 full-time?
Well, four with the chief.
4? Yeah. Okay. Okay, well, that's in the contract. It's kind of a no-brainer.
I mean, that should be automatic, but
I wish it
take it
was.
into it, it'll all go straight into it.
Yeah.
Right. I wish it was.
All
right.
I understand that completely. There's really not a choice in the matter. It's in the contract, so I do not have a problem with the contract rates. Okay. All right, go ahead.
The last two are kind of discussion items, so I'm gonna skip the health insurance, which isn't achievable. The health insurance group consortium, health consortium group is probably the right term, has made a recommendation to raise the health insurance rates. Anybody with health insurance in this country knows they go up, they don't go down. The average in Ohio is 9.9 to 10.7%. Our group is recommending 9%. We budgeted for 10. So as long as all of our employees don't have a ton of marriages and kids, I suppose, or if we hire a ton of employees, assuming those things don't happen, this is well within our budget.
So what kind of money are you talking here? I know 9%, but.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I actually had the number, but I didn't write it down. Nancy, you got me. I didn't think I'd be asked that.
Sorry.
That's okay. That is all right. So it's a significant sum. Based off our health insurance budget is $35,000. That's the increase. Health insurance is the second largest expense at City Hall after
The
salaries.
increase is 35,000.
It is, yeah.
Oy vey.
So what's that basically $350,000 a year, give or take, is what insurance costs.
Well, closer to 500, yeah. Or excuse me, 400.
Closer to 400.
Excuse me. So, let me see what I wrote here. So council does have to review the rate increase. Each member of the consortium has to approve it, their legislative body, board, or council. I will say, that is more than the last few years. The last few years, I believe, were 4%, 2%, and 3% respectively. So those have been good rates. I know of a partner city in our area that's seen over 14%. It was the case that there was nobody asking to join our group. However, we have 2 villages that just joined. We have 2 in the pipeline, and Leax is joining. So I will say that the 9% it's a number to deal with. Many local organizations, villages, and cities are actually in line to join our group because our rates are becoming, well, let's put it this way. The growth is higher at some of our sister organizations than ours, and they'd like to get in on ours. So I think I made a joke about it last meeting, my last auditor's report. I said, it's not very common folks want to be in the Nelsonville tent, but this is one tent that we've got a line at the door, so. Good deal. I'm happy to answer more questions. I did ask the representatives, I can't remember their name. I know I've talked about it with Corey. What's the group who helps us down in Athens? Stro, or
Oh, it was, yeah,
Snyder.
later.
Yes, I did ask them as well as a representative from the consortium to be willing to come to the council meeting to introduce themselves, talk to you guys, ask questions, answer questions.
So we budgeted
10%.
and we're at 9.
Yep.
So we're within our budget. So
That's
there's no real big cause for alarm, even though it is still 9%.
Mhm.
Okay.
It was included in the budget. Like I said, health insurance doesn't go down. I mean, it goes up. I will say it also, this doesn't lock our plans. This is the rate for our current plans. The city still always has the option to ask for proposals from the OSGP, Ohio Small Groups Pool, for other options. We wanted to cover more, cover different things, HSA, so on and so forth. But with our current plan, which is called Plan A, the rate increase is 9%.
So this doesn't actually, this is not an increase in appropriation then?
That's right.
Okay.
This is basically just approving the increase because we've already approved the budget. We don't need it more money.
Right.
That's the big thing.
The
No
group
more money is needed.
requires, so the Ohio, because the small groups pool is a group of governments, it's not private insurance, it's nonprofit. We do obviously pay some folks to help manage it, but we're not paying a company to manage our health insurance. The bylaws require that all of the governments approve changes.
Who do we pay?
It's the group in Athens,
Yeah,
Snyder,
Fuller.
Fuller and Stro, I believe. They're kind of like our advisor. They get us the agent. They get a stipend essentially.
What's their stipend?
It's built into the plan.
Time to figure, you have to look at the contract to get exactly.
Well, I haven't seen it, so Scooby-Doo.
That's a good question.
That's a great question. We don't know.
Hold on.
That's a great question.
It is a great question.
It may not say in the contract though, because it'll be
Yeah.
paid by the insurance company
Right.
back to the.
Agent.
Oh, sorry.
Well, probably a fixed rate is probably more of a, what I call like a finder's fee. It's, so I want to find out about that myself because I want to mention this because health insurance these days is becoming a good recruiting tool. And in comparison to a sister city, without mentioning the name, we're a little lacking to try to recruit 1 or 2 people away, and I want to recruit to the city. So if we can stay within this parameter and get a better rate or program or benefits, that's kind of what I'm looking for. So Nancy brings up some good questions about that and how we proceed.
The representatives will actually should be here Tuesday. So you should ask them.
Yeah.
How much y'all getting paid?
Yeah, that's a good question.
We should ask them.
Well, you know, I will.
I like that. I will say too, the increase is paid 85% by the city by contract, 15% by the employee. So the city does eat 85%. One of the villages in our group, as a recruiting method for their employees, decided they were going to pay the full cost of the increase for the first year. So that would be like the city here paying $35,000 upfront, and then the employees' health insurance cost staying the same. That was the village of Greenfield. I don't even know what Greenfield is, but they're in the group. I thought that was a clever
First year for new employees.
for all their employees. Yeah, they're paying the full cost, the increase for all their employees for a year, which is it's quite a gesture.
Sure.
I just give that example to say council and city manager have a wide range of options.
Paying deductibles, all kind of stuff, and there's different programs for management versus union, you're right, all kind of different options.
So all these increases are gonna be in one appropriation except for the insurance change.
Mhm. And that would essentially be, if I remember the last time, it was just a resolution saying the council reviews and has approved the recommendation. Okay. What other questions, Nancy? I see questions still sparkling in your eyes.
No.
None others?
I'll wait till Tuesday.
Okay.
Grill down.
Break it all. And we'll give a heads up.
The last two are discussion items. So the law director wanted me to mention, well, let me rephrase. I saw his contract, and I knew some of the background on the compliance issues with it. So he asked me to mention it tonight. He couldn't come and talk about it. So the law director's contract does have a pickup for his OPERS. So we do this for all employees except for administrative, basically, city manager and auditor. The city picks up a percentage of the employee's portion of the pension. So it's pretty standard too. City's done it for, I think, as long as I've been alive. The law director's contract has a pickup in the contract. However, for whatever reason, OPERS requires a resolution to be passed for any pickup plan. They will physically send the money back when it's reported as a pickup if there's not a resolution already in place. We actually ran into this problem back in 21, I believe. A different law director situation.
Mhm.
So
yeah.
he had no complaints. He said he could draft it up. He wanted me just to explain that this was an issue and a benefit, not an issue, but a benefit in his contract, that there has to be a resolution delivered by the city for that benefit to kick into place. Much to his credit, he said that the missed pickup for his pay that he'll be receiving in the midterm or in the meantime, he said he's just waiving. He doesn't want the city to worry about covering it in the meantime, even though the city's agreed to pay it. He just would like to get it done. The council is able to, so.
He's a good guy.
I was about to say, I've never had an employee say, you don't have to pay that, that's cool. So he wants to do the job, and we just figure out the rest as we go, so. That's that. The other point was a law director point two. I actually haven't been able to talk with the city manager about it yet. I was hopeful today, but had some auditors here today. The city bonds requirement were not included in the new codification. The city law director found it out. He looked in the new code. There's nowhere except for employees, my employees, that it says the bonds are required.
We should have, that should have been passed after the Wilson incident. I believe the city manager is supposed to be $1 million and you're supposed to be $500,000.
Million for the auditor,
Okay.
75,000 was the city manager's.
Really?
Yeah.
Because what does
I think it's because they don't work with me.
What's the most that the city managers cost, like 1.2, 1.3 million? Is that the one thing we had to eat from one? What-
Yeah,
Oh,
between the city manager and the auditor.
Yeah. Thought so.
But that could be different, because I was told that errors and omissions can be a different insurance coverage.
Errors and omissions, actually, the previous city, law director also signed off on that too, so that's potential.
Yeah.
Errors and omissions on his part, for sure.
So the quick rub on how this works is the state actually requires bonds for those positions, but the council sets it. So by not including sets the amount. So by not including an amount in the code, the council has accidentally said it's zero. I'm sure you don't want it to be zero. Those are not my words. Those are not
I
my
could have
words.
swore that was passed. I'm almost positive there is something there was an ordinance passed.
There was, but here's and Jonathan wanted to come tonight. He had and then he had something come up so that he could explain it. So I'm kind of using his words. The auditor's office, the employees still have the bond requirement in there, but in the new code, there's none for the auditor or city manager.
Okay.
And then here's the kicker. The ordinance that adopt the code says this here, adopting this new code and hereby repealing all prior legislation. So it's an uncommon way to do it. I don't know. I can't speak
So we
to
need
who
to
wrote
get that
it.
remedied pretty quickly.
Yeah,
Anybody who's touching or dealing with money should be,
Money or contracts.
should be on.
it should be pretty easy.
Okay, that should include your clerk also. I mean,
Your deputy
Police
deputy
clerk.
auditor and police clerk.
The police chief actually, so last year, he asked, he would like to have council set a bond for the clerk.
Yeah.
Sure.
Absolutely.
yeah.
Council sets the amounts.
Some of those mayor's courts can be pretty high in cash.
Yeah. Yeah. So I tried to set a 20-minute limit on me and we're at 19. So I don't know if there's any questions, thoughts, concerns? Nothing. Because I know you guys have other business to get to.
Oh, I thought you were getting ready to. Okay.
Do you
All
think we're gonna be able to have the bonding requirements in place for the next council meeting or not yet? I mean,
Oh, if council says an amount, I can tell Jonathan to draft it.
you got 1 minute.
I got 1 minute. I can leave them the same as they were, $1,075,000. The chief executive doesn't usually have a high bond because they don't usually touch money.
I think the quote I got was for 100,000.
Okay.
Yeah, just making 100,000 or $1 million.
And then the clerk,
And then the clerk, and then the clerks,
Yeah.
25,000. Would be that high.
25 for the police clerk, and I would say 50,000 for the your position in your office, the assistant.
Or deputy.
The deputy, hers is still in the code, it's 100.
Oh, it's 100, okay.
Yeah, because she does.
She has a lot of money.
What about,
Yeah.
what about the aquatic center?
It's a good question.
Do you do that as a whole, because those kids, the lifeguards rotate, just,
Yeah, that's a problem there.
they rotate on the concession,
Right, because they're not all stuck in the same place all the time.
yeah.
I'm not sure minor can be bonded.
I can tell you this, where I work, we have cash, everybody has a cash drawer. Everybody,
That is wonderful.
everybody has a cash drawer, and your name is tied to that drawer. And you are responsible for that drawer, it's got your name on it.
There we go.
So I got 100 city manager, 25 mayor's court clerk, leaving the auditor at $1 million. Did I miss one?
And
Oh, treasurer. The treasurer's not in there. His is 300,000. It was before.
Okay.
I don't know if that's okay to leave that
I'd leave it like that.
How much money does the code officer handle?
I don't think any.
No, you don't handle it. It all comes through your office.
Yeah, he directs folks to our window.
Direct that when you get a permit, he gives the paperwork and directs them to your window to pay.
Yeah.
They come to our window.
Which brings up the water office clerks, or they have.
Theirs is 20.
Okay,
Theirs is 20. The employees were still left in the code, but the administrative position somehow were, I don't know. It's one of those things that slipped through, I suppose.
Is there some kind of rule that the public is not allowed to see the people who have rentals, who have paid for the rentals, so forth and so on? If I asked you to give that to me, would you do that?
I don't know if I have a list of rentals, but I
How
can give
could you
you,
not have the rentals when they're paying you money, allegedly?
I could have the receipts from individuals, but I wouldn't have like,
The amount, the figures of how many rentals there are, right?
it wouldn't necessarily be attached to say a rental. They just pay us money and then they get their permit from code.
The permits, the rental permits are in the code enforcement office.
Right.
The actual numbers.
I believe so. Actually, I don't want to speak for
They're
them, but
there,
I believe so.
I believe.
But I could give you a full listing. I think I sent council one actually back in like August
Last
Say it again.
year, of the people who paid,
of people who I had receipts from, who believed were for rental.
I'll show you my permit.
So what is it that you're looking for, Nancy? You want,
just wants to know who's.
I would like to see who has rentals.
Okay.
How many they have.
Okay.
And are they up to date?
Are they paid?
okay,
Yep.
okay.
That's
There
all.
have been some complaints about, from folks in the audience at meetings about people not being paid on their rentals.
Oh, well.
So, no,
this
so, I
is
mean, I
for
think that's,
me. This is for me because we need to get our ducks in a row and, I mean, we don't want, Athens is in a bind right now, so we need all the money we can get.
Yeah, we don't want to be in a bind anymore. Yes, sir.
I spoke with the code enforcement officer about that, and I asked him about the vacant property
Mhm.
and the permits, the
Mhm.
$35 permits.
Mhm.
And he said that he was told that the properties were deleted from the system that they had. So he couldn't come up with any of the properties. He came up with a list of, which I think you gave him, a list of the water that's been shut off and not hadn't been on, and one of them was like 1/20/21.
But weren't you privy to that computer program?
Which computer
The
program?
one that Becky did? Because I had privy to it, and I'm pretty sure you were supposed to also.
I have a login, but I don't have administrative access to it now. I just have a
How
login
could that
because,
list go away?
I don't know.
Somebody got in there.
We were given a login in my office because when we took receipts, we were to enter the receipt on the property or the case.
Right.
But it hasn't really been about that one.
You haven't kept up with it?
I don't know. I haven't been asked to enter that in there. But we do, I'm gonna tell you, I feel like this question has come my way 3 or 4 times in the last few months. I'm gonna be pretty clear. The auditor's office does not manage rentals, and we won't, and we don't, and it wouldn't make sense
Well,
for us
how do you
to.
handle all that money then? Why are they sent to you to pay it?
They are sent to my office to pay it, and we can say they paid. We can say they paid, but we don't then manage the rental
Like the process,
certification.
not the process.
You just accept the money, the process is.
And then we
set
put the
forth by-
money in the bank, yeah.
Okay, but don't you keep a record of that?
We do, but.
I'm not picking on you, I just want to
No,
know.
I don't feel
these
picked on.
things.
I think there's just been, so, especially last meeting, there were several audience questions about the rentals and who was paying, who wasn't. And it was really peppered with misinformation, is why I said that. We can show who's paid, but we don't keep a list of like all the rentals in the town.
Who does?
What list would we have? I mean, seriously, ask the question.
Mhm.
What list would the auditor's office have of unpaid rentals? How would we track
There
that?
You wouldn't, I talked to Bill as soon as I got back, and we need to do a reconciliation of the whole program.
Yeah, sure.
And so I think I'll be able to get all the data back and retrieve it from the programs that we use and stuff. I'm not concerned about it, and I know the vacant property thing, 'cause I'm curious myself. 'Cause-
And the vacant property thing is simple, where you go to a house and there's no one living there. You know, I mean, it's a
Yeah,
vacant
we wanna
property.
verify it, because there's a lot of money being left on the table.
There
for
sure
vacant
is.
property.
Yes.
And, we need to reconcile that, and we're gonna do that.
Well, how does the land bank get hold of those properties?
If there's back taxes or if the property owners are willing to sign it over to the land bank to, take care of a demolition or expenses they don't wanna take care of, that's how it gets turned over to the land bank. It's a voluntary thing, so they have to turn that over. So it used to be, they would only tear down or take care of a demolition if you had back taxes, but now, if you voluntarily wanna turn your property over, to have that cleaned up, then they resell the property. So,
Hence the one of mine that was all over the bad boys of Nelsonville, that they knew was on the list to get tore down, but
Yes.
yet wanted to. I bought the house because it was a crack house and I boarded it up and cut the drugs out of that neighborhood.
Mhm.
And part of the agreement that I bought that was that I could be put on that list possibly to have it tore down.
Right.
Because it was never gonna be inhabited.
Nope.
But of course, the Bad Old Boys of Nelsonville webpage put it out there that I was a slumlord and that I was going to have it rented.
It was a cool picture.
Yeah, it was.
How long did you own it, Tony? Now,
About 2 years.
did you pay any vacant property tax?
We paid either vacant or rental fees. We paid
Yeah, something was.
something for it.
I mean, 100 and 200 for the second year.
I don't think that.
The vacant property was made for.
It was made for resident,
For commercial buildings,
properties.
wasn't made for.
It wasn't really, made- it
residential.
wasn't engineered for that.
No, that's correct. And that's
That's
what
the
we
thing-
have,
that's the
that's what
thing
we
that's
have to
gotten smeared.
reconcile, and that's what I have to be careful.
I think that's the miscommunication.
Yes, and
Because
there's,
if it wasn't for residential properties,
Right.
then all this is for naught, you know?
I'll have to, yeah, we gotta look through the code and we gotta reconcile that stuff.
It would be nice to, Bill would be in here for meetings.
Okay.
We don't know what he's doing. I mean, I realize you have given reports for him.
Yeah.
He's the one getting paid for that job. He should be in here. Yes, sir.
Well, no.
Oh, I thought
I think he was stretching.
Easy there.
I'll flex goodbye.
No. I just think the
No,
city has been so lax. And yes, by Jiminy Crickets, I'm gonna speak up. I'm tired of being the lone wolf. You guys all know what's going on, but I don't.
Well, transparency is a good thing, and I told Bill, I said, even if we have to start putting it on the wall and have big charts and posters for you to do that, so we can do that. There's a lot of rental properties in this community, so it's not the track.
Okay, I shut up.
Oh, you're fine, you're fine. Actually, though, talking about that policy, though, just having a policy and procedure in place for the codes and the rental properties would be good, because I know in the recent, just recently here in the last month, there's been quite a few properties change hands
Yeah.
from out of town property owners to more in town or vice versa. So, just to be able to stay on top of them, the fees, you know, we've never discussed that, if the fees were already paid for the year with the previous owner, and they probably should be able to receive the permit with it, but then,
Money.
yeah, but then next year, you definitely gotta make sure that you're getting that money, because those out of town folks may not know that,
That's
so.
great. That's
So
great. That's
it's
great.
kind of like when new businesses come to town too, you know, being able to collect on their, you know, get them signed up at the city and have them collect taxes and stuff, so.
It's basically data collection, so
Mhm.
if, we don't hire somebody right away, intern, would be a good project for an intern. Just to take care of that whole database, because it's a lot of work.
Can I, on that subject, I was at Logan.
Yeah.
Police Department a couple of weeks ago. They had an intern from OU sitting with the code enforcement officer.
I think, they stole them from us.
You think so?
Some lady did apply to come here and I
This
don't.
was a man, this was a boy.
Well, maybe it wasn't her then, so.
Yeah.
But some lady had applied to do that with Bill. I don't know what happened. I don't know if she found another opportunity, but yeah.
That would be a nice thing to
Yeah,
to
that's,
have.
so,
but I don't even.
we were that close, but she
Yeah.
went someplace else.
You could probably do it from Hocking College.
We're looking, we're gonna start looking. Go ahead, Nancy.
Awkward silence.
Yeah, I'm chomping on gum. I think it's a great idea to get someone with Bill.
Yeah.
If we can financially afford it, and, you know, within the budget,
Yeah,
so
well, I mean,
I mean,
we need to.
I think it would be, I think Bill has got his hands full.
He does.
I think there's a lot of,
From, dead
In fact,
bodies to high weeds, yes.
I think there's a lot of people right now at this moment that are trying to use the code enforcement officer as a retaliatory
Yes,
against certain people.
yes,
And it's, if you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're in violation of the code, you're in violation of the code. I don't care what your last name is. I don't care where you live, what street you're on. If something's violating, then you're in violation of it.
Yeah.
Period.
correct.
And I've always told, always said that every code enforcement officer treat everybody the same.
Well, Mr. Clement has asked, Bill and I to do the grand tour at least, twice a week to start really compiling the list, so I promised him I would do this as I got back.
I have pictures of you.
I'll take,
In years past, we've always got, interns from HAPCAP.
oh, thank you. We'll do that.
True. That would be a good experience.
Wonderful.
Does anybody have anything else? Anything else? Mr. Taylor? Mr. Sappington?
That's all I brought.
Mr. Flowers?
Done.
Nothing.
Ms. Sonic?
Go, girl.
Are you,
No?
are you gonna?
You can, she's holding it in for the next meeting. She's gonna trigger it.
Are you gonna talk about the staffing ordinance?
Get it out there.
Okay, do we have a staffing ordinance that we need to discuss?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Oh, I have.
Go
Does
ahead.
anyone have a copy of it? Has anyone seen it? No? Was I supposed to bring a copy? Do we need copies?
It'd be nice to have copies.
Yeah, I
Well, I didn't realize I needed copies.
whole reason I was coming.
Oh,
I know.
That's a lot. Well, I can get copies, I guess, real quick.
That would you have, great. If you would, sir, we'd greatly appreciate it.
You
I
got
just
that?
have one.
Yeah, okay, let's make some up of that. Thank you.
Make sure it's the correct one.
If that will correct.
There's a film crew outside.
I saw that. They're looking for Johnny Flowers. That's a good sign.
They want me to sing a song.
That's what it is.
Would you like me to open the window and wave at them?
It's WOUB.
They randomly just come around, I think.
Well,
I think they
asked
were
permission this time.
probably videoing the outside.
Yeah, they have a new person that's,
Oh, Haley probably
yeah,
graduated,
I
didn't
think,
she?
yeah, so there's a new person now.
Oh.
Allison Patton is her name. Patton.
Wonder if it's a local person.
You want me to run out now?
I thought it'd be.
I might not run too fast, but I can make it.
It should be just a second.
Make a wave. Everybody can turn around and wave at the camera.
We have, trivia during the intermission.
Nice flip flops.
You like that?
Yeah. It's from your uncle.
I have a little good trivia.
2023 and the 2022.
All right, great. So I'll leave those right there. You'll have them back momentarily.
Yeah. On the bed. Let it breathe. So. It's just a threshold. Oh, yeah, yeah.
Could you give me a list of these committees and what people are on these things?
That, there was an email sent.
I got an email, I printed it off, but I've got, just like you got inside that, so many papers, I cannot find it.
Corey doesn't look like
I
a
have
person.
a ton of papers, and I've been living if I was on, I think I'm on
I think
utilities,
you're on.
and I know I'm facing fire.
Yeah,
I think that's a 2-year one, Johnny, because I was looking at it today on the website.
Where is it on the web?
If you go to the city of Nelsonville actual webpage, on the left-hand side, it says city council. And if you click on that, then it says committees.
It does, it tells you what committees were on that. Is that it, Greg? Is that the committee?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, what am I on?
I'm gonna give you a copy,
Oh, okay, all right.
because I got extra copies.
Oh, good, because I have it printed out. I have my name circled on everything. Or I can have it, can you round it off?
No, I got it.
Is that vote, is that committee? Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
This is one page.
Yeah.
That's where I was last year.
Judicial, utilities.
Original?
All right, thank you.
Since I'm sitting at the clerk's table, Michael, make sure.
Trying to stay off camera,
Right.
so everybody thinks he's still working remotely.
You see the hat.
You had to say
You
that.
see the hat.
Thanks, Corey. You're welcome. Good job, buddy.
I said that.
That's okay.
That's a stick in the eye.
I'm telling you.
I'm looking out the window, I don't hear the waves. I don't hear,
Thank you.
I don't hear the waves.
Thank you, sir.
I hope all the numbers are right. If not, I'll hear about it. No worries.
Well, that's why I work here.
Thanks, sir.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
There are a few key people that are getting some significant increases, namely, the deputy auditor, namely the service director, and the wastewater treatment plant supervisor, for lack of better words, which is, what is referred to as, wastewater operator.
Did we get the other guy that we needed down there, the?
No, we have to, contract, we're at a contract for 1 or 2 people to, come in and fill in for our main operator when he's not there.
Well, I thought that there was a gentleman that he had down there that he wanted to.
Yeah, we just need to interview him and make it official, and then get together and put a contract for that, yes. And just have to, it's hard to negotiate for rates, these folks are kind of worth their weight in, whatever you wanna call it, since they're wastewater treatment people. And they're expensive.
We'll just go with gold.
Gold. Okay, I mean, they're looking for high dollars since they're just gonna be contract people. And it's hard to negotiate a good salary. Because
Did that one guy finally get better with the heart and stuff?
yeah.
What was his name?
Delbert,
Gilbert, yeah.
he's gotta go back and have one more small stint.
Is he on the job?
Yeah, he's working.
Oh, good.
But the thing is, having the proper certifications, because, our brand spanking new wastewater treatment plant, it's, class 3 operators license. And those are far and few in between, so our current wastewater operator is way underpaid. So we need to at least get him competitive, or close to being competitive.
So this amount on here is what
Yeah,
it would be, okay.
at, wastewater operator, step 1 is 30, and 31, and 33 after that, yes. And it's still below, because, most of our contractors want close to 50 an hour.
Right.
And, that's the reason why we've got our
It's right in
second
between.
violation from the
Gotcha.
EPA, because we don't have enough qualified people to sign the logs for the hours. And I told our current operator, don't lie, you know, if you're not there, don't sign it. Or they'll take a violation for it not being signed and misrepresenting itself. Which, trust me, I mean, those NOVs, they're significant, but nothing compared to what would have happened if we didn't have a new wastewater treatment plant. So, everything else is passing flying colors. That's the issue. So that's kind of what we're looking at there. So of course, everything you're seeing now is what's currently going on, and the auditor can help me out with this. A lot of those pays have been retro-backed, and the police officers already got their increase. Haven't?
Not the police officers.
Not the police officers, okay, but
They should
that's
be covered.
reflected on this ordinance, but they haven't got it yet. But I think the contracts are just switching now to the FOP, and we'll be in negotiations there any week now. And they're gonna get offered the same 8, 4, and 4 like everybody else does. That's already reflected in the staffing ordinance. And the service director is getting a significant bump, up to 71,000. And you can see the deputy auditor on a bump that position up to 49, which is coming from 42. Because I think the deputy auditor hasn't had a increase in how long?
She was increased January 1st of 23 was her last one.
Okay.
She's worth her weight in gold.
She is.
Yes, she is. She pays.
So let's cut to the chase. Can we afford this?
Okay.
The biggest problem that I'm always worried about is at one time, not too long ago, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, the city was, carryover of about 80 grand.
Yeah.
I mean, and we were running thin, Taylor, and you know that, and we all know that. I am all for paying our people what they're worth. I'm all for giving people raises if we can afford it within our structure.
Well, Mr. Auditor?
Well, I love giving you guys, how do I say this? I feel like I can, after 5 years, I think I have earned the right to say this. Can we afford it is my least favorite question. No offense, right? The reason I say that is because we can afford it,
Is
right?
it gonna break us?
No, it will not break the city.
He's done good. He
Yeah,
has done
It's not gonna
good.
break the city. I'm just,
He's a politician. Look at him.
there's, well, no, if I'm politician.
Now he's on his phone.
Another 20 minutes.
If I was a politician, I told you it was my favorite question. It's my least favorite question because council, and I remind you guys over and over and over, I'm gonna do it again today. Council's job is to set the strategy and vision, right? So the answer of can we afford it should be, is it in our strategic plan?
Is it in our strategic plan?
We don't have one. and
We need
one. We need one. Now, that's a question
You're right into that one.
right?
That's a question that is one of my favorite questions. Do we have a strategic plan? So the reason I say that is because so the city manager, the department heads, all these folks are supposed to act according to council's overall arching strategy. And so, anyway, I'm getting off track. Yes, the city can
Call a
afford it.
politician, I'm telling you, go ahead.
Yes, the city can afford it. However, the council should be aware of the fact that there's no general strategy that is being fed to us from your guys' end. So if you would like the city to be the most competitive wages in the region in 5 years, that should be a stated goal, right? Or if you guys would like to bring in the most experienced employees in Southeast Ohio, and how can we do that? That should be the strategy. And then the city manager would fill in the blanks for you.
Sure.
See what I'm saying?
He's already saying though that he worries about getting someone competitive for
That's
the
right.
water department, so.
Well, that's right, because, that's one of Tom's strengths is strategy and strategic vision, and he sees that for the utility department for sure.
So raising more revenue instead of cutting back, okay, is a much more desirable strategy. It's a lot harder. We've got a few, there's things that are facing us that are gonna be obviously a wonderful thing, even though it's gonna be a terrible thing for other agencies. You know that our trash service, our recycling service, is probably gonna go away in a couple of months. So we're gonna have to make a decision. Do we wanna do this for a while on our own? and then put it out there for bid again. And there's pros and cons to all that. So let me tell you the pros first. And since the auditor's here and he's in his political mode, this is great. We pay Athens Hockey and Recycling approximately $240,000 a year, right? Currently, right?
It just went up. We pay about 22,000 a month.
Okay, and so, the code enforcement officer, myself, and others have been soliciting all our sister cities from Lancaster all the way down to Athens about how they do their trash, okay? And our service directors paid a lot of attention to, and he's been putting a plan together about what we wanted to do, if we wanted to do this temporarily, just for a few years, and we could do really well with this, okay? So with what we collect and what we would have to pay to do this, we could significantly raise a lot of funds for future use. Did I say that right? You see where I'm going with that? And we're not in the business to make money, but there's no reason why we couldn't pool this and save this money for future things. I'll give you just a glimpse. We're gonna have access to some good used equipment here shortly. Let me tell you what a new Packer truck would cost. If we were to just lease a new Packer truck, it would cost us only $7,000 a month. Now you say, well, that's only one truck. Well, Lancaster was kind of laughing at us because I said, they said, how many units do you pick up? Well, 1,250 units. They laughed. They said, well, we do that with one Packer truck in 2 days. I said, you pick up over 600 units? Well, yes. So the Packer truck that you want, they said, here's the catch. Getting a brand new one within a year is going to be tough. So if you have access to some used ones, think about that. So there's your cost for the truck. And then what's our cost for labor? And then of course you realize that there are 5 employees in Nelsonville that are going to be out of a job shortly when our current trash hauler goes out of business.
But I thought we signed a contract for 2 years with them.
We did, but if they decide to go out of business and the COG decides to absorb them, then everything's going to get restructured. So that contract is gone.
Okay.
Okay? So it gives us the freedom and the flexibility of what we want to do. So you can decide if you want to go into the trash hauling business, or if you want to put out there for bid. A lot of ways to look at that. Now, in the short term, we could do wow, perfect time. I didn't even know you were coming.
Hi.
Did you hear me talking about you in the hallway?
No.
I did not plan this. I did not state this. Okay. We're talking about going into looking for other revenue streams, and we're talking about going into the trash hauling business if and when something happens with your current organization.
And let's be completely 100% crystal clear on this. The fee that's been collected by us doing the billing was not to buy trash cans. It was never to buy trash cans. That was started by someone. It was for us to purchase our own truck eventually. Correct? Mr. Taylor, do you agree with that?
No, that is correct.
That is,
Because
it was never to do
we
that.
were looking at trucks
Then
then.
hard. And the goal was to save up enough to have a huge down payment so that the payment wasn't going to be huge. That was what, somehow it got skewed that we were going to buy trash cans for everybody.
I understand.
I think we all.
So, I mean, that's just one example of a future strategic vision of how we can temporarily raise more income, and then we can decide to do within the next 5 years what we want to do. So, I mean, that's where we're at with that. And,
Was there any reason that you held off talking about this up to this point?
because it was all nothing was written in stone, nothing was solid, nothing was compelling me to do that unless it actually was going to happen. And then as I started talking to Chrissy, then I realized it might come to fruition at that point. So, and she's here to answer any questions about that, because the stability of that organization is going to depend on what we do in the future for our trash pickup. So.
If I may, so this part of the conversation could roll into our next committee meeting. correct?
Utilities, yes.
So I think with this staffing ordinance, we really truly don't have an economic development plan We don't have a capital improvement plan per se.
That's correct.
And this staffing ordinance is gonna play into that coming up shortly.
It is.
Because we need to have something, which is what Taylor talked about in the beginning. We as council, we as a city, we don't have a 5-year plan. We don't have a 3-year plan.
No, we don't.
And so we truly need to get to work on that.
Yes, we do.
So,
That's correct.
So is there anything glaring in here, Taylor, that concerns you as far as any of this? The only thing, and the reason why I ask is the only thing that makes me nervous is if we adopt this starting Tuesday, that the police and fire, or not the police and fire, but the police department, we haven't officially negotiated their contract yet, even though it's going to be the same. I'm just concerned if we implement it and then the
Then it's
contract,
signed.
then it's
Or
signed,
negotiated.
then is the raises end up on top of this, right, this amount.
I'm not a labor rep, but I mean, I assume the labor rep would open that possibility. It's gonna be up to council to drive the negotiations though, as far as, well, council and city manager, I'm sorry. I guess it's a possibility. It's definitely on the table. I think the only thing I noticed in this copy was just that it would need a January 1st effective date. I don't see it in here. I tried to flip through it.
That's not in there yet. No.
Okay,
Should be retroactive.
How are you? I got your rock somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's just a little.
if it's not going to break us and if it's basically gonna be the negotiated wages, I don't have a problem with it. I'm just worried, I just don't wanna put us in a bind where we have to take a step backwards because all of a sudden the funds are askew. That's all. That's all so if they say that we're good, and you've got a plan to generate revenue, I am fine with it.
Oh, fine, we're
Sorry.
I mean, currently we're fine with that.
Okay, all right, so bring it forth. All right, and with that, I think that's all, and we've got a 6-minute break. So with that, we will call this meeting of the Finance Committee adjourned at 6:55.